Another question would be, how does the artist know if the venue is right for them, if it's the right fit for the music, or, whether they're kind of ready to play that sort of venue?
Yeah, well, I think there's a couple different points to how you can approach that. One is if the venue is right for your music, know the gig, do the research. A lot of venues will have an FAQ. If they don't, we have Google or whatever search engine you're using at this time. So one of the ways that I even do a lot of the talent buying, if we're entering a new market, because we have 6 to 7 different venues right now, I will research other venues and research their bands through their schedule. So if you're looking to play a certain place, if you take the time and look at their schedule, you usually get a pretty clear sense of what they're doing there. So I would say know the gig, know the venue, just by doing the research that way. So that's the first part of that. Should I keep going, or any questions on that
Oh,
part of it? Or?
No,
you could keep going.
Yeah. And so then ask yourself what you're trying to accomplish, which is kind of one of the basics that we talked about from when you're booking your first gig. Are you willing to be flexible, or do you want to go to a place that's covers and originals, or are you really adamant about this is my craft, this is what I do? I'm a singer songwriter solo with a harmonica. I don't want to have to play to keep the registers rolling, as we call it in the industry and some of these gigs. So ask yourself what you're really trying to accomplish. If you're just trying to go out on tour and try to break even, as ha 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 with touring sometimes, um, but if that's the thing, then okay, then you know what you're doing. So first know the venue, and then know what it is that you want to do, and are you willing to do that? It might not necessarily be the best idea to change what you do or your mission for a venue just to get the gig. That's a question you have to answer for yourself, I think, as an artist. And then what are the aspects of the gig that you're looking for? As far as like, are you looking for exposure? Is there value? Is it for fun? Is it for money? What is it for? Which kind of goes into, why are you out here on this tour? My band still, despite a lot of success, will occasionally, if it's the right opportunity, we'll adjust our budget too. So are you just in this for the money, or is this a certain scene you're trying to get into and whatnot? So that's another consideration to have. And I had as a note, beware the captive audience. Just because a lot of entertainers are lucky enough that when they come to our venue, we're packed in the summertime. So you're going to have a crowd no matter what. We do not put pressure on draw unless it's a major ticketed event, because we have people who are there to just have a good time and who love music. But sometimes if you have a captive audience, it doesn't necessarily mean they're a listening room. So you might find yourself in a cover room on Bleecker Street, or on Broadway in Nashville, and you might have a bunch of people who are partying there, but if you're not playing Don't Stop Believing, they really don't care. And a lot of people probably hate on that all the time, but hey, it was a great song. They made a lot of money. It's a great drum beat. So I'm not hating on the song.
And you will hear it in Nashville on Broadway
Yes.
Many times in one night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I counted 3 in one night one time I was there.
Yeah, so I'll bet. Yeah, same thing on Bleecker Street in New York City for sure. That Scotty doesn't know, the usual party favorites. What, Mr. Brightside by the Killers. So if we have in some of the scenes, the bill out of the bands actually have a sign, and it tells you how much it costs to play that song, because they played it so many times. So yeah, I'd say to break it down, know the gig and the venue through research, by other bands that are playing there. Do a little bit of research. Ask yourself what you're trying to accomplish, and if that's going to be beneficial to you, because at the end of the day, the music's the most important. You as an artist is the most important. I'd say don't compromise yourself too much. Stick to your guns and do what you want to do. Ask yourself what you're looking to gain from the gig, whether that's financial, career-wise, or whatever. And yeah, and I'd say that's pretty much it.
The point about beware the captive audience is really funny to me, because I think most musicians dream of that scenario. It's like, I want to play a venue that does a lot of the heavy lifting for getting people there. Wouldn't it be great if there was a built-in crowd? And you're saying, like, maybe watch out what you wish for, in a way, if you're not prepared to meet them in that context, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. A lot of those gigs, people kind of consider you a jukebox. I did it for a long, long time. I'm not above this by any means. I think one of the great things that comes out of gigs like that is you are automatically getting experience playing in front of others. It's a good chance you're learning how to deal with hecklers too. So might as well get that out of the way, and you're cutting your teeth when you do that. I mean, I've found most of my band that plays with me for original gigs, we met grinding it out for gigs for $100 playing covers, but that gave us stage experience. It gave us time to work together as a band. And now we primarily do the original thing, but it's certainly not to put down the idea of a captive audience. It's just, they might not be leaving with your CD. I actually, a quick funny story is, I was once suggested by a great marketing guy that when you play a gig, you should have a stamp of your name as admission. I thought it was really pretty brilliant. And I was like, well, that's great, because that when everybody finishes the gig, if they go home and they have a hangover, they wake up the next day, they're like, that band was great. Who were they? It's on their hand. So the question you want to ask yourself is that the kind of gig you want to be playing? Maybe yes, maybe no. So
Or
You
maybe
know,
It's
they're
either
staring at their
on their
hand going,
hand or it's on their face because they slept like this.
yeah.
yes,
Like, what?
exactly.
What
So,
the heck does this mean? I have no idea what this means.
yeah. So I think all these gigs can present some sort of value. It's just about what is it that you're trying to accomplish. And if you are relatively inexperienced, that might be the way to go. I mean, playing other people's music is a great way to learn about the structure of songs. I mean, these songs were successful for a reason. So you can learn a lot about the craft of songwriting and cutting your teeth. But it will get to a point where if you're trying to do your own thing, not every place is the place for you because people enjoy familiarity, unfortunately.
Well, and there's also all different kinds of bands too. I can imagine an artist that primarily thinks of themselves as an original act, but they also might be completely able to play 3 hours of covers. And if they're booking a tour,
Yeah.
they might encounter a bunch of different kinds of venues. It might be the listening room one night, and then the next night it might be this kind of space. And they can kind of exercise a lot of different muscles, I guess, on that tour.
Well, yeah, not just from an artistic standpoint, but also, as we know, touring's expensive. I've heard it several times on this podcast where it's discussed and about where artists can put their dollars. So yeah, a lot of time you have what is called an anchor date. I mean, if a certain band has a corporate event in Chicago, that might pay for the whole tour. And now you can play listening rooms the rest of the time. So there, by all means, there is a time and a place for it where it can help you further what you do. It's just, you got to avoid crushing your soul on some things too. So you got to walk in with your expectations, right?
I thought that's the whole music experience. Your
Yeah.
soul just getting crushed one night after another.
Yeah.
So far, we have try not to put your audience to sleep, try
Yep.
not to let your soul get completely crushed.
Yep.
There was another try in there. I can't remember what it was, but
Well, it's just one of those things where I'm speaking from experience and having learned some things. So, of course, most people enjoy learning the hard way. It's certainly a surefire way to learn, but you can imagine how parents feel.
Yeah.